안녕하세요. 저희 캐나다데이 세미나 시작하겠습니다. 안녕하십니까. 저는 오늘 진행을 맡은 캐나다 브리티시 컬럼비아주 한국 대표부의 홍정윤 상무관입니다. 바쁘신 와중에도 참석해 주신 여러분께 진심으로 감사를 드리고요. 바로 시간 관계상 이제 대표님 환영사로 시작을 할 예정인데 혹시 통역이 필요하시면 통역 장비의 5번 혹은 6번에 접속을 해 주시면 되겠습니다. So if you want to use the receiver, please connect to channel 5 or 6. 오늘 세미나는 캐나다의 수소산업 전반에 대한 소개를 주제로 캐나다가 수소산업과 청정기술에서 어떻게 글로벌 리더로 자리매김하고 있는지에 대해서 논의하는 자리가 될 것 같습니다. 자, 먼저 캐나다 브리티시 컬럼비아주 한국 대표부의 데릭 킴 대표님의 환영 인사를 전해 주시겠습니다. 대표님, 큰 박수로 맞이 부탁드립니다.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome you, where we come together to explore hydrogen's transformative potential here at H2Meet. In partnership with Canadian Hydrogen Association, CHA, the province of British Columbia proudly hosts our pavilion and today's session, where we highlight the leadership in hydrogen innovation and our commitment to sustainable energy future. In 2021, British Columbia became the first province in Canada to launch a comprehensive hydrogen strategy under the Clean BC Plan. This innovative strategy outlines 63 key actions aimed at expanding low-carbon hydrogen production, developing regional hydrogen hubs, and decarbonizing sectors that are difficult to electrify. BC is ideally positioned to produce low-carbon hydrogen thanks to its abundant clean energy sources. 98% of its electricity comes from hydroelectric power. Home to over half of Canada's hydrogen and fuel cell companies, BC leverages decades of clean energy expertise to solidify its role as a global leader in the hydrogen economy. With our strategic ports for exporting to Asian markets from Western Canada, BC is well equipped to meet growing hydrogen demand in the world. The one-stop shop BC Hydrogen Office continues to play a pivotal role in advancing hydrogen projects by streamlining regulatory processes and enabling partnerships between government and industry. These efforts are strengthened by the strong presence of BC-based companies driving hydrogen innovation globally, such as Ballard Power System, also working with Doosan Fuel Cells in Korea, is a global leader in hydrogen fuel cell technology, providing solutions that decarbonize transportation systems worldwide. Greenlight Innovations delivers advanced testing equipment essential for the fuel cells and electrolyzer industries. PowerTech Labs, a subsidiary of BC Hydro, specializes in hydrogen refueling infrastructure and technology testing. TestNet Canada ensures safety and performance testing for hydrogen technologies worldwide, as well as Svante, invested by and partnered with Samsung E&A, pioneers carbon capture technology, crucial for reducing industrial emissions, aligning with the broader hydrogen economy goals. BC is recognized globally as a premier destination for hydrogen investment due to its abundant clean energy resources, highly skilled workforce, and forward-thinking government policies. Major global companies are already capitalizing on these strengths. POSCO Holdings is working closely with our government, while Hyundai Motors, in collaboration with BC-based H-Tech, is deploying hydrogen-powered trucks in Canada, marking significant milestones in sustainable transportation. Founded in 2021, the BC Center for Innovation and Clean Energy, CICE, is an independent, not-for-profit organization backed by 35 million investments, each from the government of British Columbia, government of Canada, and Shell Canada. CICE also supports the commercial development and scaling of BC-made clean energy solutions for global markets. With this momentum, BC and Canada is positioning itself as a leader in both domestic and global hydrogen markets. So now I invite you all to engage in today's presentation, especially from the companies I mentioned and our colleagues from Alberta, as they showcase their innovative solutions and contribute to cleaner, greener future in between South Korea and Canada. Thank you.
감사합니다. 오늘 세미나는 두 번의 키노트 스피치와 6개 회사의 피칭 세션으로 구성되어 있습니다. 그래서 첫 번째 그 키노트 스피치로 저희가 진행을 하겠습니다. 첫 번째 키노트 스피치를 맡아주실 에런 킴 님은 글로벌 어페어스 캐나다 개개 트레이드 커미셔너로 활동하고 계십니다. 오늘 주제는 캐나다 A Global Leader in Clean Technology라는 주제로 발표를 해주실 예정이고요. 이제 모시고 발표를 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron. I'm a trade commissioner based in Vancouver, and I work with Global Affairs Canada. 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 김성순이고요. 캐나다 외교부에서 상무관으로 밴쿠버에서 일하고 있습니다. Today, I'll talk about generally. I only have 15 minutes, so my presentation will revolve around an overview of the landscape of the hydrogen sector in Canada and with a focus on Western Canada. Before I get into the meat of it, I really want to quickly go over what the Trade Commissioner Service is. So the Trade Commissioner Service is, I'm pretty sure the people in the room have heard of COTRA. So you can think of us as Canada's equivalent of COTRA. The only main distinction between COTRA and the Trade Commissioner Service, or the TCS, is that COTRA is a crown corporation, whereas the TCS is embedded within the Department of Foreign Affairs. We have been in existence for over 125 years. We have over 1,000 trade commissioners around the world, including in Canada. And we're located in more than 160 cities, and also we have 6 regional offices, one in Canada, one of which is where I'm from. Our mandate is really threefold. We help Canadian companies export their products, services, and technologies abroad. We also help Canadian companies find innovation partners who can collaborate with Canadian companies to co-develop products that can be commercialized in the future. Lastly, we help foreign investors find diverse investment opportunities within Canada. So now I'll get into the overview of Canada's hydrogen sector. As some of you might already know, Canada released its national hydrogen strategy in 2020. And it's been 4 years, and in May of 2024, just a few months ago, our government released a progress report on our hydrogen strategy to kind of to show how much progress we made and where we are. So across Canada, we're seeing a lot of interest in low carbon hydrogen. There are approximately 80 low carbon hydrogen production projects that have been announced, which represent an expression of interest of over $100 billion in potential investment dedicated to building out this hydrogen infrastructure. There are many pilot projects that are currently underway that showcase Canadian ingenuity and demonstrate how hydrogen can help fuel our trucks, buses, trains, help decarbonize our industries, or help heat our homes and businesses. We're seeing hydrogen hubs that are forming, such as in cities like Edmonton, Vancouver, and Southern Ontario, to match low carbon hydrogen supply with demand. As you can see, we're producing over 3,000 tons of low carbon hydrogen per year, most of which comes from our 20 megawatt green hydrogen production plant in Bécancour, Quebec. This was built in 2021, and I think for a short time, this facility was considered the world's largest green hydrogen production plant. This plant produces about 8.2 tons of green hydrogen per day. So annually speaking, we're talking about 3,000 tons. And 8.2 tons of hydrogen is great enough to fuel about 2,000 cars or 275 buses or 230 large trucks. So there are about 13 low carbon hydrogen production facilities in operation in Canada, which comprise 6 electrolytic facilities and 7 projects that have adopted carbon capture to lower the emissions of traditionally carbon-intensive hydrogen production. Approximately 80 production projects have been announced since the release of our National Hydrogen Strategy in 2020. And a lot of these projects are, well, a lot of these projects are at different stages of development. Most of these projects will produce low carbon hydrogen through either electrolysis or natural gas reforming via steam methane reforming or autothermal reforming with carbon capture and storage. There are a few early stage projects that are developing that use pyrolysis or that use biomass gasification with CCS. These projects are targeting a broad array of end uses, including oil and gas refining, industry feedstock, natural gas blending, transport, and several projects focused on ammonia production for export. As you can see on the map, you'll see lots of green circles in British Columbia, which is the westmost province that you see on the map, which is where I'm from. And you'll also see a lot of green dots on the far right side, which represents Atlantic Canada. And then you see more blue dots in Alberta, and I'll get to why that's the case later on. So before I get to that, I want to talk about one major project that's happening in Alberta, and that's Air Products' $1.6 billion net zero hydrogen energy complex in Edmonton, Alberta. This project will use autothermal reforming technology to produce about 140,000 tons of hydrogen per year from natural gas. And its carbon capture rate is greater than 90%. The captured and compressed CO2 will be sent by pipeline to a permanent underground storage site that's approximately 40 kilometers away. This facility is expected to be commissioned in 2025, which will serve as an anchor facility for supplying low carbon hydrogen to end-use projects across the Edmonton region hydrogen hub, as well as to produce renewable diesel. The renewable diesel facility can reduce Canadian transportation emissions by the equivalent of taking 650,000 cars off the road per year. That includes plans for 35-ton per day hydrogen liquefaction to be used in the transportation sector, or large-scale refueling station, and 100% hydrogen-fueled power generation unit. So among these 80 projects, you'll see a lot of them that are still going through the feasibility study stage. We have 59 projects that are kind of at that stage, and there are a lot of conversations happening between foreign entities, foreign companies, and Canadian governments and provincial governments to make these projects move forward. And this chart really explains why we saw a lot of green dots in certain regions and blue dots in certain provinces. And that's because British Columbia, among Quebec, are the most well-known hydro-dominant provinces. In British Columbia, which is where I'm from, we produce over 91% of our electricity using hydro energy. And there are various companies, whether those be foreign or Canadian, that are trying to tap into our hydro-dominant grid, our green grid, to produce low-carbon hydrogen with the aim of exporting that green hydrogen back to Asia. If you look at Atlantic Canada, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island. These provinces are really well endowed in terms of their wind potential, which is why a lot of the green hydrogen production projects we're seeing in this region are going to be using wind. Compared to those two provinces, we have Alberta, which has a grid that's very reliant on natural gas. Alberta produces quite a bit of natural gas, so they can access natural gas very cheaply. So although Alberta has rolled out a lot of renewable infrastructure, its grid is still very reliant on natural gas. And given its pre-existing natural gas infrastructure, of course, that makes the province a lot more conducive to production of blue hydrogen, especially given its carbon capture storage potential, given its geographical traits. So as far as our export strategy is concerned, in Western Canada, our plan is to produce low carbon hydrogen in hydrogen hubs like Edmonton, where Alberta's industrial heartland is located, and turn that low carbon hydrogen into ammonia and bring that to British Columbia, to Prince Rupert, which is British Columbia's second largest port, and ship that ammonia out of across the Pacific. The port of Prince Rupert already exports quite a bit of propane and butane to Asia. I think it exports those products to South Korea already. So we have existing infrastructure to help with that. So as you can see, once the ammonia reaches port of Prince Rupert, we can easily ship that across the Pacific Ocean and send it to East Asia. And as you can see, the direct route from Prince Rupert to Japan is about 7,900 kilometers, which equates to 14 days of shipping. Now, I want to briefly talk about British Columbia's hydrogen sector. As some of you might already know, British Columbia is a well-known fuel cell hub. This province is where companies like Ballard were born. So we have universities and a hydrogen economy or hydrogen sector that produce a lot of high quality engineers that have expertise in various applications of hydrogen. So they're companies, foreign companies that have been trying to tap into this deep bench, this rich talent pool, and companies like Volvo and Daimler. They recently, just a few years ago, they established a joint venture for the purpose of building a new manufacturing and R&D facility to build fuel cells for their medium and heavy duty trucks. An Austrian powertrain company like AVL also invested in British Columbia to build an R&D facility that provides engineering services and prototype design services for fuel cells. H-Tech is another local company in British Columbia that currently manages about 6 to 7 refueling stations. This company just announced a few months ago that they would be rolling out more refueling stations along with green hydrogen production sites across BC. So their plan is to have 20 refueling stations in British Columbia, and they will also add green hydrogen production plants along the route, where they will produce 1 to 5 tons of green hydrogen, which will be liquefied for the ease of distribution. So as I mentioned, thanks to companies like Ballard and our universities like UBC and SFU that have a long history of working on hydrogen-related projects, we really have a deep bench of engineers that have founded other hydrogen companies. We have companies like Ionomer, which makes and ion exchange membranes and proton. So they make ion exchange membranes that go into fuel cells or electrolyzers. They're actually at this point a pretty well-known company. We have Greenlight, who I believe will be speaking soon, which is a which makes world-class high precision testing equipment that can be used by fuel cell or electrolyzer makers. We have also a company called Econa, which has been developing its own proprietary methane pyrolysis technology. And the company is growing really quickly to be able to deploy their technology at an industrial scale. Companies like Svante and Carbon Engineering, which have developed carbon capture or direct air capture technologies, were also born in BC. I think Yvette will touch on some of these key policies related to hydrogen, so I'll just skip this part. But thank you, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. 다음은 두 번째 키노트 스피치 발표자로 넘어가겠습니다. 두 번째 키노트 스피치를 맡아주실 분은 Yvette Vera Perez, Canadian Hydrogen Association, 캐나다 수소협회 회장님의 영상을 보시겠습니다.
My name is Yvette Vera Perez, and I am the President and CEO of the Canadian Hydrogen Association. I am coming to you today from Toronto, and I am particularly grateful to the organizing committee at H2 Meet in Seoul that has allowed me this opportunity. Thank you very much for having me with you today. I wish I could have come in person, but I am very grateful for being here, at least virtually. Thank you. I would like to first start by telling you a little bit about the Canadian Hydrogen Association. So about CHA, as we call it ourselves, we strive to be a leading voice, a unified voice for the hydrogen sector in Canada. We are nationwide and have currently over 200 members. We try to provide value to our members by establishing an affiliate model, knowing that a lot of the decisions related to energy in Canada are also regional. So through our affiliate model, we are able to provide our members value nationally, internationally, such as in ratios like this one, and also regionally. A little bit of a boots on the ground approach, if you will. A lot of what we do, striving to be a unified voice for the Canadian hydrogen sector, revolves around advocacy, awareness and education, and networking and trade mission opportunities for our members. And again, this mission is one example of the latter. A little bit about Canadian hydrogen and our value proposition in Canada. So Canada has traditionally been a leading we are one of the top 10 hydrogen producers in the world with a number of years, decades of experience in the hydrogen sector, specifically fuel cell technologies, but also electrolyzer technologies. We have a sector that has been thriving up to this point, and now that we are on the verge of making hydrogen a mainstream form of energy, we feel that we are very well positioned to do this. You see in the map here a number of dots. Those are dots of projects that we have currently in various stages of development, and you can see that coast to coast in Canada, we're starting to develop those opportunities. A little bit about CHA membership and the ecosystem around hydrogen in the country. These are some of our members. We have about a little bit over 200 members, and as you can see, there will be names that you're able to recognize, international names, and also smaller members. So we cover the whole spectrum of the hydrogen supply chain, from hydrogen producers to those moving and storing hydrogen, providing engineering services, etc., and also end users of hydrogen. And our members range from startups to SMEs to MNEs, academic institutions, municipalities, etc. So it's a very comprehensive ecosystem. I wanted now to tell you a little bit about Canadian history if you will, hydrogen history, we have in Canada a very long-standing tradition, as I mentioned, when it comes to developing to the hydrogen sector and development of hydrogen technologies. And our first works in hydrogen can be dated back to 1905, when Alexander Stewart developed that idea of producing hydrogen via electrolysis here in Ontario, where I'm speaking to you from today. So I won't go through all these different elements of our history when it comes to hydrogen, but I would like to highlight some of these. For example, we started doing research in hydrogen in the early 40s, and that was the National Research Council of Canada. So imagine all that knowledge that has been accumulated, all that IP, and that tradition that we have accumulated. That is one of the reasons why we have such a skilled workforce and so much talent as well at the post-secondary education level. A little bit of history about associations, of course. Our first iteration of the Canadian Hydrogen Association was created in the 70s. So also we as an association have some history to be proud of. Then, of course, in the 1980s, Ballard Power System was created, specifically in 1983. And of course, this is quite important because Ballard, in addition to being a name that we cannot recognize today, gave birth to what we call the cradle of the fuel cell industry in Canada, in British Columbia. Lots of talent and lots of companies that have emerged from Ballard as well. A little bit continuing in the 1990s, there was lots of interesting developments when it came to hydrogen. Later in the early 2000s, strong support for specifically fuel cells endeavors and a number of international events also taking place in Canada. Later in the 2000s, CHA, Canadian Hydrogen Association, and Hydrogen Fuel Cell Canada merged into what many of you may have known as our previous names, CHF-CA, Canadian Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association. Fast forward in the 2010s, lots of research in the space. Hydrogenics, a company that many of us know by name, that today is part of Cummins, Accelera by Cummins. In the mid 2010s, 2016, Hydrogenics partnered with Alstom to develop a hydrogen powertrain. All of these Canadian companies, Canadian technologies. And of course, in the 2020s, 2020 was marked by the launch of the hydrogen strategy for Canada, and lots of activities between 2022 and 2024. And in 2024, just a little bit more history about the Canadian Hydrogen Association. We rebranded, CHFCA rebranded as Canadian Hydrogen Association. And this was to present, to be able to speak about the breadth and depth of the sector. So we include so many things. So we did not eliminate anything, quite the opposite. We acquired a lot of areas within the hydrogen sector under one umbrella. So that was just, thank you for indulging me on a bit of a history retrospective of the Canadian hydrogen sector. I always find it very interesting to know where we come from, and so that we have a better idea of where we can go into the future. I'd like to tell you now a little bit more about the Canadian hydrogen landscape. You saw a little bit earlier this specific graph, the specific map. So it shows a number of projects as of late 2023 that we have been developing in Canada. Something very interesting is that you can see that all provinces are able to participate when it comes to hydrogen. And that is because every province has different core competencies, competitive advantages that we can capitalize on. On the East Coast, you have, for example, extremely high wind profiles, very attractive for renewable hydrogen. Ontario is a province where nuclear energy is one of our top sources of energy. The grid is fairly clean, and this enables us to develop a number of interesting projects as well. Alberta is the cradle of the oil and gas industry in Canada, with tremendous experience when it comes to developing projects, utilizing hydrogen as a feedstock in a number of operations, and also with very strong knowledge when it comes to CCUS, carbon capture, utilization, and storage. So definitely a province that can capitalize on what you would call blue hydrogen if we talk about colors. And then British Columbia, lots of efforts as well, and leading the charge in Canada when it comes to mobility. And of course, Canada is blessed by having two major coasts that provide access to Europe on the East Coast and also to Asia on the West Coast. And definitely this makes us well positioned to also consider exports of hydrogen. This is just another way of representing Canadian projects as of 2024. About 80 projects in different, announced since 2020, different stages of development, of course. If they were all going to be realized, that would mean about 5 million tons of low carbon hydrogen per year, with over $100 billion in investment. So tremendous potential and many more projects emerging and being announced as we speak. A little bit about the support ecosystem in Canada. So of course, we know about the different investment tax credits, Clean Fuels Fund funding, the Canada Growth Fund as well, a number of infrastructure programs as well, and a number of policies that are helping Canada move in the right direction. Most recently, you may have seen news about the H2 Global Window. That's that instrument that will allow the exports of hydrogen from the East Coast into Germany. And this is one of the pictures from last March, where we signed that MOU, that agreement for the H2 Global with Germany. The tax credit system is quite comprehensive. I have put a little bit of a graph here that shows this is the example of a, what you would call a renewable project or a green project, how different investment tax credits can help support different portions of a project. It's complex, but there's that opportunity to support a project in its different elements. For example, the renewable side, the core hydrogen production and ammonia production, but there's also the CCUS tax credits that in the case of blue hydrogen could support the portion that involves the carbon capture and sequestration. I wanted to talk a little bit about opportunities for collaborating between Korea and Canada, between our companies and our governments. Of course, research and development, both sides have tremendous talent and resources. So this is something that definitely we would love to explore. International supply chains, equipment, technology, fuel cell stacks, development, hydrogen vehicles, of course. There's a number of manufacturers in Korea that are very active on this side, as well as the Atlantic. Hydrogen export corridors, of course, very important, and that's something that hopefully very soon we will see made a reality between Canada and Korea, for example. Exports of hydrogen via the West Coast in the form of ammonia, for example. Lots of stakeholder engagement, lots of room for learning, lessons learned from both sides, education, what's working, what is not working, learning about how our different countries are embracing hydrogen and what it is that, what the best practices are on both sides. Clearly, of course, always certification and regulation, collaboration, again, best practices and standards, facilitating meetings with governments, for example, Treasury Board on the Canadian side, and similar authorities on the Korean side that are looking at eliminating, for example, regulatory barriers, etc. So these are just some of opportunities for collaboration that I see. We're very proud that a very large number of our members have attended this conference with you at H2Meet, and we hope that there will be lots of fruitful conversations and lots of fruitful business-to-business, B2B relationships. With that, I would like to thank you for the opportunity of coming to you virtually today again. I wish you a wonderful conference and I wish our members a very productive time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yvette. 한 5분 정도 지금 발표자분들한테 혹시 질문이 있으시면은 질의응답 시간을 가지려고 합니다. 혹시 질문이 있으시면은 손을 들어주시면 저희가 마이크를 가져다 드리도록 하겠습니다. 혹시 질문 있으신 분 계신가요? 저희가 행사 끝나고 나서 혹시 발표 자료가 필요하시면은 다 전송을 드릴 수 있고요. 뭐 기타 추후에 궁금하신 부분이 있으시면은 저희 대표부로 연락을 주시기 바랍니다. 그러면 좀 빠르게 그 다음 피칭 세션으로 넘어가도록 하겠습니다. 저희 오늘 6개 소개해드리는 회사는 지금 저희 J21 그 1층 부스에서 소개를 드리고 있는 캐나다의 회사들이고요. 맨 처음으로 Alberta's Industry Heartland Association을 무대로 모시도록 하겠습니다. David, please.
I didn't know they were going to put a picture of me up there, but it wasn't very flattering, I didn't think so. Thank you very much, everyone, for the opportunity to present to you today. I really appreciate it. I want to also thank Aaron for his presentation earlier, because I think it's going to cover some of the same material that I am. But it was great to get that introduction to it and see it from the Canadian lens as well. So our organization is called Alberta's Industrial Heartland Association. It is the terminus of that export route that Aaron was showing in his presentation. It's been shown a few times. It's the largest petrochemical cluster in Canada, and it's founded by the municipal government. So you can see on the map there exactly where it is in Canada. It's sort of near the west. And the key advantage of our region is low-cost natural gas supply. We have the lowest cost natural gas in all of North America, and one of the top 3 lowest prices in the world when compared to global hub prices. So right around the same level as Qatar and Russia's production prices of natural gas. And that's due to a system and infrastructure efficiency problem that we have. Essentially, we produce too much natural gas locally and don't have enough export capacity to even get all of it out of the system. So a lot of opportunity there. What our organization does specifically is economic development for the region. So we try to improve the conditions of land in the region to attract new business investment and opportunity. We have a business development department that travels to conferences like this around the world to connect with companies and show off the land and conditions we have. And then we have myself and a few other team members on the government relations team, and we take recommendations from inbound companies and translate that to government efficiency and infrastructure opportunities in the region. So as you'll see, we create incentive programs and large-scale shareable infrastructure opportunities that make investment easier, reduce that barrier, and reduce the risk for new investment in the region. I'm just going to skip some of these slides, but I know they're sending out the presentations to everyone, so I invite you, if you're interested in learning more about our organization, to look at the presentation again. These are some of the large-scale companies that are operating in our region. Currently, there's $50 billion in situ investment in the region, and some of the largest companies in the world exist there. So Shell, Dow, Nutrien, TC Energy, the low-carbon diesel fuel refinery that was mentioned in Aaron's presentation, NWR, is right here, very exciting. Also the most expensive refinery in North American history and the newest one, so kind of an interesting subject there. Big announcement in our region recently from Dow. They're building the first net zero polyethylene facility, accompanied by an ATR facility from Linde to provide hydrogen to that facility based off of natural gas. And that's underpinned by the world's largest carbon sequestration system, which I'll be talking about in a moment. So here are some of the existing industries that are produced in our region today. Again, we have a large amount of refining capacity and a large amount of liquids availability in the region, and then underpinned again by the cheapest natural gas costs in the world. So everything from plastics manufacturing to fuels, existing hydrogen and ammonia production. We've been producing hydrogen for industrial purposes for over 70 years in the region. first for metallurgical refining and then for assisting in hydrofracking. We don't produce a coking process in Alberta, it's hydrofracking bitumen typically. So hydrogen is a key component in those industrial processes, and as a consequence, we've been producing a large scale of hydrogen, the most hydrogen in all of the country, for more than a half century. So a lot of talent and a lot of knowledge on producing and moving hydrogen products, and including ammonia, which is probably the biggest opportunity for export today. Methanol is another one that we like to talk about too. Again, I was mentioning the Dow and Linde project. That's a $12 billion project in our region. It's the first net zero polyethylene facility, Scope 1 and Scope 2 in the world. Big project. We have a couple of other really interesting projects underway as well. Excuse me. Shell is doing a new carbon capture and sequestration hub as well. That will be an open access system that will decarbonize a good portion of the Shell Scotford refinery and chemicals complex in northern Alberta. Open access systems are very important to us in the region in terms of carbon capture and sequestration. It allows companies to, inbound companies to locate in our region and access decarbonization options in the near term without having to outlay capital, significant capital to build them. So the large-scale pipelines in our region that are open access essentially operate as midstreamers. For a toll, you will be able to transport your carbon and collect the credits afterwards. ATCO and Shell also have another sequestration hub planned, and then we have a couple of big fractionation scales. So again, because of the trapped natural gas, there's a lot of fractionation potential for spec gases or liquids. Here's another big one. You've heard a lot in both previous studies. There was mention of $100 billion worth of announced hydrogen projects. Well, $20 billion of that is within our region. There are some substantial partnership opportunities that have evolved over the last few years and are looking at that same export route that's been defined a few times in presentations today. So a big one for everyone in this room probably is the Hydrogen Canada and E1 partnership. E1, a Korean company, of course. So that's a hydrogen production to ammonia conversion and then shipping out of Prince Rupert to South Korea potentially. We also have several Japanese companies that have been interested in partnerships in the region as well, with essentially the same project characteristics. So we would be producing blue hydrogen in our region at a significantly larger scale than, say, an electrolysis is able to perform in the near term, and then shipping that via rail and then via port to South Korea or Japan or potentially Indonesia as another region of opportunity. We also have a lot of green power development underway in our region, so this is something important, and it was mentioned earlier that our grid is heavily natural gas. I do want to mention, Aaron's slide did say coal, but fortunately we have actually converted all of our power resources. There's no more coal in Alberta. It's all natural gas or wind or solar power. We also have some interesting proposals keep pushing the wrong button. We also have some important proposals right now for green energy production, such as the Kineticor facility. That's a natural gas that's carbon capture and sequestration enabled as well. So that's about a 90 to 95% efficiency capture rate that's advertised, and it's going to be a 1,400 megawatt power center. The other one is a waste to energy complex. So we'll be taking municipal solid waste, again, carbon capture enabled, 90-95% efficiency, and then producing green energy or clean energy at least within our region. And then beyond that, we also have a wide array of solar and wind options that are accessible through VPPAs in the region as well. So opportunities, we see a lot of opportunities in methane, ethane, propane, butane right now, again, because of that liquids availability, but primarily we also see a huge export potential for hydrogen and ammonia products. Our natural gas reserves are quite massive, as mentioned. This is what gives us the lowest cost natural gas in the region. And then because of structural infrastructure inefficiencies, it's virtually impossible for us to export the capacity that we can produce. So they say that we functionally have an endless supply of natural gas, more than humanity is projected to use for the next 1,000 years. And that's why it's so cheap. I'm just going to skip through these and you can look at them later if you're interested, but it's a low price. The infrastructure opportunity is really what's the key change in our region recently. So I mentioned it earlier, but we have currently operational for the last 3 or 4 years already, the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line system. That is the longest and largest carbon sequestration pipeline in the world. It has a 15 million ton per year capacity for CO2, 14.6 you can see listed down there. And it's only about 40% filled currently. So it's another open access system. This system is underpinning that Dow Path to Zero project announcement and allows, again, companies to locate there and operate in a near-term decarbonization. And we also have 7 other carbon hubs planned in our region, so plenty of opportunities for decarbonization. I'm going to end there. I have a few more slides that talk about the same things that Aaron spoke about earlier, but again, it's all about the export opportunity for us. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your focus and your time today.
Thank you, David. 네, 다음 순서로 Ballard Power Systems의 Norman Chore를 모시겠습니다.
Hi, I'm Norman Chor from Ballard Power Systems, and I manage our commercial and business development activities in Asia Pacific. It's my sincerest apologies I'm unable to make this event in person, but however, I do appreciate the opportunity to still be able to offer a recording of an introduction to Ballard Power Systems. So at Ballard Power Systems, we deliver fuel cell power for a sustainable planet. So Ballard is a publicly listed company with one of the strongest balance sheets among all of the pure fuel cell companies. This provides confidence in our business to our partners and our customers. So the business itself is very simple. We take fuel cell technology and we apply it to markets where it has the greatest benefit to our customers. We have now shipped over 1 gigawatt of fuel cell products with over 200 million kilometers of road experience. We have leading PEM fuel cell stack technology, and we're vertically integrated from the MEA all the way to the fuel cell systems. And we also provide our customers with very flexible collaboration approaches to accelerate the adoption of fuel cell technology. So our core technology has been developed for over 40 years, and it leverages our very unique experience in heavy-duty applications. So this does set us apart from our competitors and other fuel cell companies. Generally speaking, a lot of our competitors have focused on passenger car or light-duty platforms. In our case, our products and our experience has all been for the heavy-duty sector. Now, we do know that we cannot commercialize fuel cells independently as a small company. Partnering with industry leaders is really the only way to scale up and demonstrate real-world benefits and show how it provides economic returns to end users. We remain very flexible to how we work with our partners, how they want to collaborate. We have no real restrictions on who we work with, but the important thing is we do look for good partners, and in this situation you can see a range of engine manufacturers, tier 1 suppliers, vehicle OEMs, blue chip end users. So we are always looking to work with industry leaders and just find ways for us to demonstrate the value of fuel cells in their applications. So Ballard, we focus on heavy-duty applications where fuel cells deliver the highest value proposition. Our technology has powered over 1,200 buses and over 2,400 trucks, and all of these are in real-world use. So it's not closed routes, it's not for demonstrations. These are out on the road, generating revenue and returns for our customers. right now we are using that same technology and we're leveraging it into other applications such as rail, marine, stationary. Those applications are very early stage. We understand that. We recognize it will take time for fuel cells to mature in those applications, but the benefits are all the same. At the end of the day, the PEM fuel cell provides a zero emission solution. It works very well in fast and transient response type applications. It's very good at high load and fast refueling. So it's always the same value proposition, but now instead of just focusing on bus and truck, we're looking across the board to see what other heavy duty or even larger, more extreme heavy duty applications could benefit from using fuel cells. So Ballard manufactures MEAs, plates, stacks, and modules. We really manufacture 3 types of stacks. Those stacks are all used for backup power and mobility systems. We take those stacks and we'll integrate it with our Select BOP, and that's where we'll offer slightly more integrated solutions in the form of fuel cell modules for vehicle OEMs or system integrators. Those products generally are designed in the 50 kilowatt to 200 kilowatt range. So we are looking to introduce our products for kind of the higher power type applications. And then in some cases, for very, very specific partners or projects, we do integrate those modules into very high power containerized solutions. But again, that's not really Ballard's core competency. Those are usually for very specific projects. What we want to do is, be experts in our part of the value chain, and we want to offer integrated modules to system integrators and vehicle OEMs where they could just easily take our product and integrate it right into their powertrain. So we are driving scale and efficiency across our key markets right now, which are North America, Europe, and China. Combined, we have 4 manufacturing sites operating globally with plans for potentially a future site in the United States. In total, in aggregate, if we assume full capacity, let's say 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we can manufacture approximately 60,000 stacks and about 25,000 modules annually. Now, right now, we're not operating at that capacity. The market is not quite there yet. But the point is, we do have the runway into the future to scale with adoption. So what that means is if adoption suddenly accelerates in the next year or 2 years or 3 years, we don't need to actively go and raise a bunch of capital or spend a bunch of capital to expand our capacity. We have already sized the business for near and midterm growth. We have business plans, and we've already evaluated several different types of business plans where future expansion is needed either in the United States or in Europe or in Asia. But the key is any near-term or midterm demand will be at capacity. So the most important takeaway, I think, is that Ballard is 100% a fuel cell company. We don't do anything else. Our team is not spread into project management or project development. We don't invest in things like hydrogen production or generation. Fuel cells is not a small piece of a large company. So really, every dollar we spend, all the investments, all of the human capital, everything we have at Ballard is truly focused on fuel cells, right? Delivering fuel cell power for a sustainable planet. So when we work with our partners, it's very clear to us, what's the value we add for the customer. They also understand that from a fuel cell expertise perspective, they don't have any concern or risk working with us. But ultimately, like I said, Ballard is 100% fuel cell, and there's no plans for us to change that going into the future. Okay, so I'd like to really, thank you very much for your time in joining in to listen to this short introduction to Ballard Power Systems. Please feel free to reach out anytime, and we're happy to connect and discuss future opportunities together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norman. 이제 다음 회사로 진행을 하겠습니다. 다음 회사는 Greenlight Innovation의 Greg Walsh 초청하겠습니다.
So thank you everybody for a brief opportunity here to introduce Greenlight to you. My name's Greg Walsh. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer, one of the founders of Greenlight, and I will just give you a brief introduction to our company. So Greenlight, we're also located in Burnaby, same as Ballard, near Vancouver, and our mission in life is to enable the development and commercialization of hydrogen technologies, primarily fuel cells and electrolyzers. We don't make fuel cells or electrolyzers, but we provide our customers with the tools that they need to commercialize those technologies. So we are supporting the customers in their endeavor to make these technologies. We were founded originally in 1992. We've gone through a couple of changes in the structure of the company since then, but we have been around in the industry for a very long time. We are the world leader in both the supply of fuel cell and electrolyzer testing equipment. So this is for R&D as well as end-of-line production testing. We've got global sales and service in many regions around the world, including Korea. We have partners here who handle our sales and service. We have about 2,000 test stations installed globally, and we are 300 people. Our manufacturing capacity is about 150 to 200 test rigs a year, and I'll show you some examples of what they look like. Again, we're located adjacent to Vancouver. Unfortunately, not quite in this picture, but over to the right. There's our facility in Burnaby. So this is our primary headquarters facility where we have 2 production lines and our head office. Secondary facility just down the street, about 5 minutes away. And these are the products. So fuel cell test stations on the left, electrolyzer test stations on the right. They look very similar on the outside, but basically what they're doing is controlling very accurately the gases that are going into the fuel cell. So we control the flow rate, the pressure, the temperature, and the humidity of the incoming gases. And we handle the exhaust. We take the load off the fuel cell with an electronic load bank, and it is all controlled by some sophisticated proprietary software. Similarly, electrolyzer testing equipment, in this case, we are controlling the water circulation rate, whether it's anode or cathode or both. And we're handling the gases that come off, the hydrogen and the oxygen. So again, we're controlling on the water, the flow rate, the pressure, the temperature, handling those exhaust gases. And in the case of the electrolyzer test station, we provide an electronic power supply, as well as the software and diagnostics that go with the system. For PEM fuel cell testing, this is our flagship product line. The majority of the equipment that we have installed globally is of this variety. So our customers are using these machines for research and development of the membrane, the catalyst, the plates at the unit cell level, so in the small machines, and then right up to through mid-size stack, short stacks as we call them, up to full-size stack development for testing and validating the stacks, for performance, for durability, and for end of line. So once the fuel cell has reached maturity and it's ready for production, we provide the equipment for evaluating or testing the stacks at the end of the production line. We work with a partner company, AVL, who some of you may know. They're an Austrian company. They have also a facility, it was mentioned earlier in the presentations, they have a facility right next to us in Burnaby where they offer engineering as a service. But we work with the headquarters company out of Austria. They are the world's leading supplier of fuel cell powertrain equipment. So for the automotive industry, they work with almost every car company and bus and truck company in the world for the development of the engines. They're about 11,000 people, roughly 2 billion annual turnover, located in Graz, Austria, with global operations. So our partnership with them, we are responsible for fuel cell unit cell right up to the stack, as I mentioned earlier. Once that stack has to get integrated into a vehicle, we involve AVL. So they're experts at integrating engines into anything that moves or stationary power, and they're an excellent source for engineering knowledge in fuel cells. If you have problems with your fuel cell, you need some expert engineers, you can hire them to assist you. They also do testing as a service, so they use our Greenlight machines to test and validate stacks for their customers. Electrolyzer testing, very similar usage as the fuel cell testing. Our customers, again, are using from the single cell right up to the full-size stack to evaluate the components that go into the electrolyzers. We make equipment on electrolysis for alkaline, PEM, and AEM, so the 3 different chemistries that are available in the testing range. And these test rigs vary in power. It says 2 megawatt, but actually we're now making units up to 4 megawatt. So for R&D testing as well as end of line in the multi-megawatt size. We also offer optional testing hardware for customers who are trying to validate chemistries and membranes if you just need some testing hardware to hold your test article. Integrated diagnostics, a very critical part of our business, certainly critical for a lot of our customers who are looking at failure modes or diagnostic techniques to understand what's happening at the cellular level. How are the failure modes generated and why are they happening and when? So we have a number of integrated tools within the test rigs for failure modes and diagnostics. We also offer balance of plant for electrolysis. So this is one of the machines. I just took this picture last week. We're making about 10 or 11 of these style of machines this year in our facility. This is for end-of-line production testing, but we can also offer these for the balance of plant for large electrolyzers. So I'm talking about the megawatt or above. Some of the facility photos, I'm just going to wrap up here. Secondary facility. Here's some of the machines under production and some of the installs at our customer base. Please reach out to us if you have any need for testing equipment, our validation equipment, or end of line. Happy to give you more information at our booth downstairs as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. 자, 네 번째 회사로 Momentum Material Solution의 Arlene Ai를 모시겠습니다.
안녕하세요. Good morning, everyone. I'm Arlene from Momentum Materials. We are a startup company from Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. And now we have around 40 employees operating in Canada and China. So what we do is we manufacture a novel carbon material as a catalyst support for PEM fuel cell, electrolyzer, and also for lithium-ion batteries. We want to use novel carbon materials to build a more sustainable future. So here's what we have achieved so far. Our products have been demonstrated by our customers, and it shows more than double lifetime as compared to our competitors when used as a catalyst support in the PEM fuel cells. Our products have been tested by more than 13 customers. Most of our customers are PEM fuel cell stack manufacturers. We have a really innovative R&D team, and we have filed and applied more than 20 patents around our technology and core products. And our team has achieved more than 12 awards across Canada and China, including we got funding from Alberta Innovates and also from NGen from Canada. Our products includes a novel nanoporous carbon material, which is used as a catalyst support. We're also putting platinum on our carbon materials to make the full catalyst. So our products are fully customizable. We're able to control the pore size, the surface property of our carbon materials, and also being able to load various platinum loading on our carbon materials. Besides the hydrogen products, we're also developing a mesoporous carbon material as a host for silicon anode for lithium-ion batteries. In addition, we provide technical services and support to our customers using our expertise in material science and electrochemistry. We really want to help you to achieve success. So how does our product compare to our competitors? If you look at the data here, so our customer has done the testing using United States Department of Energy's protocol on testing the catalyst durability. So after 30,000 cycles, our catalyst lost only around 11% of the electrochemical surface area, while our competitors lost more than 30% to 50% of the same metric after the same protocol. And this means our catalyst has more than 2 times higher lifetime as compared to our competitors in terms of the platinum durability. We also have a really good carbon durability. Our customers also tested our catalyst using DOE's protocol on carbon corrosion durability. And after 5,000 cycles, our catalyst lost around 35% of its ECSA, while our competitors lost more than 50% of the ECSA. And this means our carbon has a superior carbon corrosion resistance as compared to the conventional products in the market right now. While our lifetime and durability is more than doubled as compared to the competitors, our performance is not compromised. The beginning of life performance, the catalyst mass activity of our product is also 10 to 20% higher as compared to the competitors. To summarize, our product has higher efficiency and longer lifetime as compared to the conventional catalyst in the market right now. This will lead to a lower total lifetime cost for our customers, which are hydrogen fuel cell manufacturers. We have received really solid, good, and positive feedback from our customers all around the world. And currently, our manufacturing capacity of the catalyst support is over 300 kilograms, and we plan to scale up to over 1 metric tons next year. So that's everything you've heard from us, and we'd like to hear from you as well. So feel free to contact us if you have any questions or if you're interested in our products. And we'd also love to help you to solve your issues relating to material science or electrochemistry systems. And our booth is at J21, so if you want to talk to me today or tomorrow, feel free to drop in. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. 이번 회사는 파워텍 랩스입니다. 벤 스킬링스를 모시겠습니다.
Thank you very much for the BC Trade Commissioner and the Canadian Trade Commissioners for making this event very manageable for companies over in Canada, and for this opportunity to provide a brief overview of the PowerTech testing services and solutions. PowerTech, we see ourselves as catalysts in this energy transition. We're one of the largest testing and research facilities in North America. We have 15 testing labs, and in general, our industries are about power, electric utilities, automotive, industrial, and of course, hydrogen. Some of the key laboratories we have: high voltage lab, power systems, grid automation, and for the audience here, more about hydrogen infrastructure and hydrogen testing. PowerTech has a long history in the compressed gas world. Way back in the early 80s, a local gas distributor asked us to do some testing on compressed natural gas. And this has really extended in the 90s and 2000s all the way to today with hydrogen. On the hydrogen testing services side of things, we really focus on the 4 main groups, so cylinders, components, fuel systems, and customized. The customized image isn't completely clear, but at the end of that very long boom, there's a cylinder 60 meters up. And these are one of the tests where a customer pays us to drop the tank and see what happens. The tank bounced, fully pressurized, nothing's wrong. These Type 4 tanks are incredibly strong. Maybe some people in the audience know much more about it than I do, for the Illigins, etc. in the world. We also have a very dedicated hydrogen embrittlement testing lab where we can do some specialized slow strain rate testing. Also, in very high pressure environments. So this is actually used in the rocket and space industry. We also do some interesting tests where, in the lower right-hand corner, where a customer would literally pay us to light a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle on fire and see what happens. Those are the real fun ones. Top left, also some hydrogen release tests, and the top right is a damage tolerance test. I'll show you an example of that a little bit later, but in that case, a fully pressurized hydrogen cylinder, and you shoot it with a gun at a distance, and you're just supposed to cut some of the fibers and make sure nothing happens. Now, these are two videos. It's always risky with a video. We'll see if it works. These are two older ones, so the dates are actually from 2001 and 2002. They're old because I really want to show that PowerTech's been doing this a very long time. The first one should be a gunfire test. Let's see. And on the right-hand side is the bonfire test, or what I like to call really is the barbecue. You put a cylinder on top of a big flame, and what's supposed to happen is the TPRD, or the temperature release device, is supposed to jet the hydrogen away in a very safe environment. And on the left-hand side, where you literally shoot the tank with a gun, in that case, the acceptance criteria is that it doesn't, doesn't fracture or come apart. PowerTech over the decades has also really moved into the hydrogen infrastructure. Oh, now I'm counting down. I'm almost out of time here. In 2001, we had our first 35 MPa tank, 70 MPa hydrogen fueling station as well. And today we consider ourselves amongst the highest performing hydrogen stations in operation. PowerTech, we really connect the producer and the end user. We're also developing hydrogen trailers and refueling trailers, as well as the export. Here are some images I'll just show really quickly: mobile refuelers, high-capacity trailers, and some export systems. And we like to consider ourselves doing all the sections: engineering, testing, ops, and maintenance. And just quickly, as far as a highlighted project, this is at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And it's a hydrogen energy hub. It's a living laboratory. And the bottom right-hand corner, that's actually a rendering. I should update it with a picture. It's actually a beautiful station. It really looks like that. We are in the Canada Pavilion, of course, the BC Canada Pavilion, and I'd love to talk with any of you about any of your testing needs or infrastructure.
Thank you, Ben. 마지막으로 테스트넷 캐나다의 최영민 대표님을 모시고 마지막 피칭 세션을 진행하겠습니다.
안녕하십니까. 저는 최영민이라고 합니다. 그리고 저는 캐나다 테스트넷 캐나다 INC에서 약 한 6년 정도 근무를 했고요. 그 전에는 현대자동차에서 한 15년 정도 수소 저장하고 수소 시스템에 대해서 개발을 담당했었습니다. 그리고 그 전에는 한 5, 6년 정도 재료팀에서 일을 했었고요. 오늘은 그 테스트넷과 그 다음에 UL 솔루션이 주도를 하고 있는 수소 저장 시스템에 대해서 설명드리도록 하겠습니다. 저희는 2009년도에 설립이 되어 있고요. 2009년도서부터 점점 확장이 돼서 현재는 테스트넷 캐나다하고 테스트넷 독일에 실험실을 2개를 갖고 있습니다. 테스트넷 독일은 넘어가도록 하겠습니다. 테스트넷 캐나다는 밴쿠버 옆에 파워텍 옆에 파워텍 옆에 바로 있습니다. 그래서 여기서는 주로 이제 파워텍이랑 거의 비슷하게 수소 탱크, 그 다음에 천연가스 탱크를 주로 평가하고 시험하는 곳입니다. 저희의 그 롤은 크게 4가지로 볼 수 있습니다. 물론 이제 테스트 서비스는 물론이고요. 그 다음에 공장 디자인에 대해서 저희가 컨설팅을 진행하고, 그 다음에 유럽 그 인증 관련해서 테크니컬 서비스로서의 역할을 하고 있습니다. 또한 저희가 하이드로전 아카데미를 운영을 하기 때문에 그 레귤레이션 코드 앤 스탠다드에 관해서 워크숍, 그리고 트레이닝을 진행하고 있습니다. 뭐 앞서 보신 파워텍에서 보신 바와 같이 저희도 이제 여러 가지 시스템 시편하고 그 다음에 테스트를 하는데 주로 이제 저희는 이제 유량, 그 다음에 압력, 그 다음에 온도 변화에 따른 부품에 대한 성능을 평가하고 있습니다. 저희는 아주 작은 부품부터 시작해서 그 다음에 싱글 탱크, 그 다음에 특히 저희가 이제 강점이 있는 거는 스토리지 시스템에 대한 아주 정밀하고 매우 정확한 그런 테스트를 평가한다고 생각하고 있습니다. 주로 카나다에서 시험을 많이 하고 있는데요. 가스 프레셔 테스팅, 그 다음에 수압 테스팅, 그 다음에 똑같이 파워텍에서랑 똑같이 화염 시험도 진행하고 있습니다. 저희 그 화염 시험 하는 장소고요. 그 다음에 저희가 그 총격 시험까지 여기 아래서 보면 총으로 쏴서 그게 터지는지 안 터지는지에 대해서 확인하는 총격 시험까지 하고 있습니다. 저희는 재료 시험에 대해서 아주 정확한 시험을 하고 있는데 수소 적합성 평가, 그 다음에 오린 같은 경우는 이제 블리스터라고 해서 흠집 같은 것이 생기는데 그런 것에 대해서 정밀하게 원인 규명을 할 수 있고, 그 다음에 기계적 성질, 그 다음에 이제 그 플레이트에 대한 투과도 평가를 진행하고 있습니다. 그리고 저희가 조금 다른 때보다 강점이 있는 게 뭐냐면은 그 재료 관련된 수소 투과도 평가를 아주 정확하고 빠르게 할 수 있는 아주 굉장히 파워풀한 장비를 보유하고 있습니다. 기타 마찬가지로 다른 시험실과 마찬가지로 서멀 쇼크라든지 그 다음에 화학 시험, 그 다음에 기타 다른 진동 시험 같은 평가 장비도 종합적으로 보유하고 있습니다. 또한 저희도 그 커스터머가 특별히 요구한 특별 사항에 대해서 저희가 이제 그 요구에 맞춰서 평가를 진행할 수 있는데, 예를 들어서 이제 굉장히 거대한 파이프라인에 대한 어떤 버스트 테스트, 그 다음에 이제 리크에 관해서 어떤 거동을 보이느냐, 이런 것들을 요청하는 커스터머 요청에 맞춰서 저희가 시험을 진행할 수 있습니다. 자동차, 그 다음에 트랜스포터블, 그 다음에 그 정체형, 이렇게 세 가지에 관한 모든 그 인증, 그 다음에 타입 어프로얼에 관한 평가를 진행할 수 있습니다. 그리고 저희는 이제 그 테크니컬 서비스로서의 역할도 할 수 있는데요. 자동차에 관련된 거, 그 다음에 운송에 관련된 거, 그 다음에 정치형에 관련된 것에 대한 그 테크니컬 서비스로서의 역할을 할 수 있습니다. 저희는 앞서서 말씀드린 것 같이 이제 레귤레이션 코드 스탠다드에 관련된 것과 관련해서 워크샵, 그 다음에 트레이닝, 이런 것들에 대한 아카데미, 하이드로전 아카데미를 운영하고 있습니다. 앞서 말씀드린 것 같이 모든 그 UNECR은 유럽 그 인증하고, 그 다음에 국제적인 인증인 ISO, 그 다음에 캐네디안 규격, 그 다음에 기타 여러 가지 스펙에 대한 평가를 다 진행할 수 있습니다. 그리고 이제 뭐 앞으로 되겠지만 저희가 이제 액화 수소에 대한 평가도 진행하려고 계획 중에 있습니다. 감사합니다. I hope you have a good time in our country. Thank you.
감사합니다. 이것으로 피칭 세션은 모두 마무리를 하고요. 혹시 질문이 있으시면은 지금 참석하신 회사에게 한두 분 정도만 질문을 받는 시간을 갖겠습니다. 혹시 질문이 있으실까요? 일전에 말씀드렸던 것처럼 저희가 지금 파빌리온을 지금 5홀 제일 21 에 지금 저희가 위치하고 있거든요. 그리고 지금 오늘 피칭 세션을 진행해 주신 6개 회사 모두 다 위치해 있으니까요. 혹시 궁금하신 점이 있으시면은 직접 방문하셔서 상담을 하실 수 있을 것 같습니다. 오늘 캐나다데이 컨트리데이 세미나 참여해 주신 모든 분들께 진심으로 감사드리고요. 저희 대표부 혹은 또 캐나다 대사관에 항상 상무과에 문의사항 있으시면은 연락 주시기 바랍니다. 고맙습니다.